So you guys said with Safe Space, you said something on Mimi's podcast, and you said, which I resonated with, because I think about it in the same. I was relating it to like my therapy stuff. You're like, we want to work with people who like share our vision or like share our message, and we don't like. Our job is not to like convince other people, and I think that's the same applies to hypnotherapy, because I think with hypnotherapy in particular, there's a stigma around it. People are like, oh, I'm hypnotized, I'm gonna like bark like a dog and stuff. I'm like, no. I'm like, but I don't blame you for thinking that way, because that's how I used to think as well. So working with people that share your vision, I get, and I can see that would be like an easy conversation, and the benefits are a lot more receptive and clear. But the question then becomes, if we want to grow, if we want to start growing this awareness and growing that, eventually we're going to have to start convincing those people that we don't want to convince. So what do you think we need to start doing to start dragging those people in, or to start being like, guys, by the way, you should take a look at this?
So I think we can't drag people. I think we'd probably get arrested for that. So I'm going to like... there's something that yeah, so I think there's like something that I don't know, it's like what my mum always told me about boys, and she was just like, always make them think it was their idea in the first place. So
negotiation tactics. Nice.
Yeah, so I think what we're doing at Safe Space is really kind of making it as attractive as possible. Yeah. So like when we, in the good old days, when we used to have our meetup group at Tanya's Tea House, like, couldn't there be a more lovely place on the planet to talk about our emotions than Tanya's Tea House? It's pink and it's wonderful, and it's, you know, these amazing photos on the wall. Like, we want to put mental health in places where people don't expect them to be. We want to kind of make it a party that everyone just wants to turn up and be on the guest list for anyway. So I think it's about making our product as good as possible. Sure. In order for those stragglers, let's say, the people that are on the outskirts, to hear literally through that word of mouth, through like, oh, I went to this session the other day, kind of blew my mind, wasn't expecting it, this happened, I learned this, oh my gosh, that's really interesting. You know, and let that ruminate a little bit. But I think part of our strategy is, and completely, you know, intentional, when we started working with businesses, is that's where we can kind of prey on the unexpected. Because people go to work and they're just assuming that their boss has their best interest at heart, and then Safe Space pops up with a wonderful interactive session, now a virtual session, and they'll almost kind of like bamboozle them a little bit. They're in the session whether, you know, so I kind of joke and jest, it's not done in that way, but in a sense that when we're at that work in that different culture, it's not necessarily just something that was our idea in the first place. Yeah. So this is why we're working with businesses, HR leaders, people who want to be able to make sure that their business is, you know, thriving. And part of that, as different as we can kind of split it, is mental health is good for business. If you have a workforce that feel more fulfilled, they're going to be more creative, more innovative, more productive. Benefits, too many to mention. So by having sessions that we, again, that sort of mystery of mental health, we're not going in there talking to them about depression, anxiety and stress. Sure. We're going in there talking to them about stuff they do every day, like sleep, like relationships, like self-esteem and self-confidence. And again, package it in a way like, oh, I could do with more self-confidence. So this is how we're going to give it to you. So if we address those areas of people's life that are a little bit out of balance or they want to be better in, that essentially will roll up to better mental health. So again, it's the sneaky back route of trying to kind of get this message across, because we don't necessarily want everybody to, you know, get on board with this topic, or I don't necessarily think that everybody has to get into therapy, but I think we do need to sleep better, and we do need to eat better, and we need to have confidence and self-esteem and better relationships and better communication, and then organically, you know, we'll heal the world. But that's our kind of starting place. Yeah,
and I think you guys are doing a really great job in using the right topics when you go into those conversations. Like you correctly said just now, it's not about talking about depression and anxiety. You want to talk about something that when I go to work every day, what am I feeling? That stress, oh, I have a deadline, or the pressure from my boss, or like, oh, I'm upset with my colleague, whatever it might be. And I think what you guys are doing, addressing those topics, makes it a lot more relatable. And on some level, I think everyone faces it, but sometimes you're not aware of it. And bringing that, I guess, to the forefront to make one person in that, in those workshops be like, oh, I do feel that stress, and oh, that's why it's affecting me. It's a ripple effect. And like you said, you want it to grow organically.